The champagne flutes caught the light like 1,000 tiny daggers suspended in midair. I should have known right then. Sharp, glittering things have a way of causing harm. "To the love of my life," Vanessa said, her voice carrying across the penthouse bar with practiced ease. She raised her glass higher, and the crowd of corporate vultures fell silent. "And to my #1 supporter." I stood up from my chair at the back table, straightening my tie, the good one she'd picked out for me that morning. Around me, 50-odd faces turned my way, smiling those polite, empty smiles people reserve for speeches and funerals. I smiled back, raising my own glass of overpriced bubbles. Then Vanessa looked directly at me, her green eyes cold as January ice, and said, "You can leave now, Eddie." The room didn't just go quiet. It went vacuum silent, the kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat hammering in your ears like a judge's gavel. I stood there, arms still raised like an idiot, watching my wife of 8 years cross the marble floor in her new Louboutins, the ones I'd helped pay for and plant a kiss on Calvin Brewer's smug face. Cal, her best friend, the guy who'd been at our wedding, who'd helped us move into our house, who'd sat at our kitchen table drinking my beer and lying to my face for God knows how long. The crowd erupted, not in gasps or shock. That would have been too honest. No, they erupted in that nervous performative applause people do when they're watching a car crash and don't want to seem like they're enjoying it. Some of them were definitely enjoying it. I didn't throw my glass, didn't shout, didn't make a scene. Instead, I set the champagne down carefully on the nearest table, smoothed my jacket, and walked toward the exit with my head high and my face blank. Inside, though, I was taking notes. Every face that smirked, every person who looked away, every single one of them. Well, I thought, at least she didn't spill her drink. The elevator doors were closing when a hand shot through, triggering the sensor. Richard Mason stepped inside. CEO of Vanessa's company, silver-haired and sharp as a scalpel in his $3,000 suit. "Eddie," he said, not looking at me, watching the numbers descend. "That was unfortunate. That's one word for it. She doesn't deserve you." He reached into his jacket and produced a business card, plain white with embossed lettering. "Come see me tomorrow, 10 a.m. My office." Why would I do that? The elevator chimed. Ground floor. Rick stepped out, then turned back. "Because she doesn't deserve her promotion either, and I think we can help each other." The doors closed on his knowing smile. I made it to my car. Our car, technically the Subaru I'd paid off last year before my phone started buzzing like a hornet's nest. Text after text lighting up the screen. "Vanessa, we need to talk." "Cal." "Man, let me explain." Jillian from HR. "Eddie, please don't do anything rash." I picked up the phone, stared at it for a long moment, then tossed it onto the passenger seat. The engine turned over with a reassuring rumble. I sat there in the parking garage, hands on the wheel, and laughed. Not a bitter laugh or a broken one. A real laugh. The kind that comes from somewhere deep and honest. "Well," I said to my reflection in the rearview mirror, "this trip just got interesting." Rick Mason's office occupied the entire top floor of the building where Vanessa had just been promoted. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city like a god's eye view, and the furniture probably cost more than my annual salary. Rick sat behind a desk the size of my first apartment, fingers steepled, watching me with the intensity of a chess player, contemplating his next move. "Coffee?" he asked. "Information?" I countered. He smiled. "I like you, Eddie. Vanessa always described you as simple blue-collar, but I've learned that simple often means honest, and honest men are dangerous when pushed. She called me simple, among other things. He opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder thick with papers. I've known about the affair for 6 months. Cal's not subtle, and your wife is ambitious to the point of recklessness. She's been positioning herself to take my job, using Cal as her inside man. The promotion, that was me keeping her close where I can watch her. He slid the folder across the desk. I opened it. Emails, text messages, photos of Vanessa and Cal at restaurants, hotels, his apartment. My hands didn't shake. I wouldn't give anyone that satisfaction. But something cold and heavy settled in my chest. Why show me this? I asked. Because she's a cancer in my company, and I want her gone. But if I fire her outright, she'll sue for wrongful termination. She's smart enough to have covered her tracks legally. Rick leaned forward. However, if her personal life becomes so publicly toxic that she's forced to resign, if her reputation becomes so damaged that keeping her would hurt the company's image, well, that's different. You want me to destroy her? I want you to get your revenge, Eddie. I'm just providing the tools. What you do with them is your business. I looked at the folder again. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of coming home to someone I thought I knew. 8 years of being called simple behind my back while I paid the mortgage and fixed the plumbing and played the good, supportive husband. What's in it for you? I asked. A clean house. And the satisfaction of watching someone who thought they could outmaneuver me learn a very expensive lesson. Rick stood, extending his hand. Do we have an understanding? I shook it. His grip was firm, businesslike. We do. Excellent. One more thing. Vanessa has friends in the company. Jillian in HR, Gabe in IT. They're loyal to her. You'll need to be careful. I'm always careful, I said. That was 3 days ago. Now I was sitting in Tommy's bar, the Rusty Nail, a dive on the east side that smelled like beer and honesty, with my sister Janice and my old contractor buddy Marty. Tommy was polishing glasses behind the bar, listening with the practiced attention of a man who'd heard every story and kept every secret. So, let me get this straight, Janice said, her legal assistant brain already working through the angles. You want to systematically destroy your wife's reputation and career without doing anything illegal? That's the idea. Jesus, Eddie, when you commit, you really commit. Marty laughed. A big booming sound. I always said you were too good for her. Remember when she made you return that truck because it wasn't upscale enough? I remember. Tommy sat down a whiskey in front of me. Neat. What do you need? Information, gossip. This is a small enough city that everyone knows everyone. I need the word to spread true things, mind you. Nothing lie-list about Vanessa and Cal, their affair, his gambling debts, her office politics, all the dirty little details that make people whisper. I can do that, Tommy said. This place is gossip central. Half the city passes through here eventually. Janice pulled out her phone. I can dig through public records, find out if there's anything legally questionable. Cal's gambling debts. If they're bad enough, there might be financial irregularities. And if he's been using company resources for personal matters. Rick gave me access to some of that already, I said, tapping the folder I'd brought. But I need to be smart. Nothing that traces back to me directly. What about the house? Marty asked. You guys own it together, right? Jointly. But I can make things difficult. Lock her out of accounts, change passwords, make her life inconvenient. Nothing illegal. It's my house, too. Over the next week, I became a different person. Not the Eddie who fixed things and kept quiet and played nice. I became someone calculated, someone patient, someone who understood that revenge isn't a sprint. It's a marathon, and you have to pace yourself. First, I changed every password to every account. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, the Wi-Fi, our shared banking app. When Vanessa came home that first night late, smelling like Cal's cologne, she found herself locked out of everything digital in our house. "Eddie, what the hell?" she shouted from the living room. I was in the basement, my workspace, pretending to work on my laptop. "What's wrong?" "Nothing works. The Wi-Fi, the TV. I can't even log into our bank account, huh? That's weird. Must be a glitch." "A glitch? Everything at once?" I climbed the stairs, keeping my face neutral. "I'll look into it tomorrow. I'm busy right now." She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw uncertainty in her eyes. "Good. Are you serious right now?" "Absolutely serious. You said I could leave, remember?" "But this is my house, too. I'm not going anywhere." "Eddie, we'll talk when I'm ready to talk," I said, and went back downstairs, locking the door behind me. The next morning, I met with Gabe from it. He didn't know I was coming, but I knew where he got coffee. A little place 2 blocks from the office. I sat down across from him before he could leave. "Eddie," he said, startled. "I didn't expect. I know you've been helping Vanessa," I said quietly, monitoring my online activity, checking my emails. "That's illegal, Gabe. Corporate espionage, invasion of privacy. I could have you arrested." His face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone, showed him a screenshot. Rick had provided it, of Gab's access logs. "You accessed my email account 4 times last week, my social media twice. You're good, but you're not that good." "She asked me to. I don't care why. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stop and you're going to start feeding her bad information. Tell her I'm planning to move out, that I'm looking at apartments, that I'm broken and defeated." "Can you do that?" Gabe looked at the screenshot, then at me. Whatever he saw in my face made him nod. Yeah, I can do that." "Good, because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows about your little side business selling company data to competitors." "I don't. I know you do. Rick knows you do. But if you help me, we'll forget about it. Deal?" He swallowed hard. Deal. By the end of the second week, the gossip had started. Tommy was a maestro, dropping hints to the right people at the right times. "Did you hear about Vanessa Herron and Cal Brewer?" Apparently, it's been going on for months. His wife doesn't even know. And the promotion. Some people are saying she slept her way into it. None of it was false. That was the beauty of it. Every word was true, just amplified, spread, whispered from bar stool to office cubicle to coffee shop. Janice found something better. Cal had been using company credit cards for personal expenses. Dinners with Vanessa at expensive restaurants, hotel rooms, even a weekend trip to the Burkers. It was all there in the expense reports hidden under client entertainment and business development. "This is gold," she said, showing me the documents. "If this gets to the right people, it will, I promised." That night, Vanessa came home early. I was in the kitchen making dinner. Spaghetti, nothing fancy. She slammed her purse on the counter. "People are talking about me," she said. "Are they? You know they are. Someone's been spreading rumors about me and Cal." I stirred the sauce, not looking at her. "Are they rumors, Vanessa? Or are they just facts you didn't want public?" "You bastard. You're doing this." I turned then, meeting her eyes. "You humiliated me in front of 50 people. You kissed another man while I stood there holding a glass you asked me to raise. You called me simple behind my back. What did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd be a man about it. I am being a man about it. Just not the kind of man you expected." She grabbed a plate from the counter and threw it. It shattered against the wall behind my head, ceramic shards raining down. You can't do this to me. You started it, I said calmly. I'm just finishing it. My phone buzzed. A text from Rick. Tomorrow, the real show begins. I smiled at Vanessa, and she actually took a step back. What? She demanded. Nothing, just remembering something someone told me. You can leave now. She left. I heard her car peel out of the driveway. I cleaned up the broken plate, finished making dinner, and ate alone in the kitchen. The spaghetti was pretty good. The email hit Vanessa's inbox at 9:15 on a Thursday morning. I know because Gabe, now my unwilling accomplice, sent me a screenshot of her opening it. The subject line read, "Expense report irregularities. Immediate review required." Rick had timed it perfectly. The email came from the CFO's office, copied to HR and the Ethics Committee. It outlined in excruciating detail every questionable expense Cal had submitted over the past year. The dinners, the hotels, the Berkshire's trip, and it noted that many of these expenses corresponded with Vanessa's own travel schedule. By 9:30, Vanessa and Cal were both in separate conference rooms with HR representatives. By 10:15, the whole office knew. Tommy called me at 10:15. "Eddie, you need to get down here. The lunch crowd's early and everyone's talking about your wife." I drove to the Rusty Nail parked around back and walked in through the kitchen. The bar was packed for a Thursday morning. Word traveled fast. I could hear the conversations before I even saw the crowd. Heard she was sleeping with him for months. Expense fraud. Can you believe it? Poor husband. Did you see him at that party? Tommy nodded at me from behind the bar. I slid onto a stool in the corner, ordered a coffee, and listened. This was the moment where reputation became reality, where whispers became truth through sheer repetition. Marcy, one of Vanessa's so-called friends, was holding court at a table near the window. I always knew something was off about them, she was saying. The way they'd look at each other at company events, and Vanessa was always so secretive about her phone. Funny how friends turn the moment the tide shifts. My phone buzzed. "Vanessa, this is your fault. You're going to regret this." I texted back. "I already regret 8 years. What's a little more?" Another buzz, this time from an unknown number. "Rooftop parking garage. Noon. Come alone." Cal wanted to meet. This was going to be interesting. I showed up at 11:50, parking on the 3rd level of the downtown garage where Vanessa worked. The rooftop level was mostly empty, just a few cars scattered across the concrete expanse. Cal's BMW sat in the far corner, and I could see 2 figures standing beside it. Cal and Vanessa. So much for coming alone. I parked 20 FT away and got out slowly, hands visible. "Quite the ambush," I called out. "We need to talk," Cal said. He looked rough, tie loosened, hair messed up, the smug confidence gone. Vanessa looked worse. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red. "So talk. You need to stop this," Vanessa said. "Tell them it's not true. Tell them you made it up." Made what up? The affair? The expense fraud? Which part exactly am I supposed to lie about? Cal stepped forward. "Listen, man, I know you're upset." "Upset?" I laughed. "I'm not upset, Cal. I'm just getting started. You're ruining our lives. Funny. I thought you did that yourselves." I walked closer, keeping my distance, but closing the gap enough to see the panic in their eyes. "You humiliated me publicly. You stole from your company. You lied to everyone around you. I'm just making sure people know the truth." "The truth?" Vanessa's voice went shrill. "You're spreading gossip like some bitter pathetic." "Careful," I interrupted. "You're already in enough trouble without threatening me in a parking garage." Cal's hands balled into fists. "You think you're so smart. You think you've won." I don't think I know. He moved fast, faster than I expected for a desk jockey. His fist came at my face in a wild, desperate swing. I stepped aside, muscle memory from my construction days kicking in, and his momentum carried him past me. He stumbled, caught himself on his BMW's hood. Really, Cal? I picked up the tire iron I'd strategically placed by my car earlier. You want to do this, Eddie? Don't. Vanessa started. I swung the tire iron down onto the BMW's hood. The metal crunched satisfyingly. Oops. You psycho. Cal lunged again. This time I was ready. I sidestepped, stuck out my foot, and he went down hard on the concrete. Not my fault, he couldn't keep his balance. Stay down, I suggested. You're embarrassing yourself. Vanessa ran to him, helped him up. His suit was scraped, his pride even more damaged. We'll call the cops, she threatened. And tell them what? That your boyfriend attacked me and I defended myself? There are cameras up here, Vanessa. I checked. I pointed to the security camera mounted on the corner post. They'll show exactly what happened. I walked back to my car, then paused. Oh, and Cal, you might want to check your insurance. I hear body work is expensive these days. I drove away, leaving them standing there, defeated and furious. My phone rang before I even left the garage. Rick, I heard there was an incident. He said Cal's having a bad day. So, I gathered the CFO's meeting with them both this afternoon. I thought you'd like to know. They're being suspended pending investigation. That's unfortunate, isn't it? I could hear the smile in Rick's voice. How are you holding up? Never better. This is almost fun. Good, because it's about to get more interesting. Someone slashed your tires. I pulled into my driveway and saw he was right. All 4 tires on the Subaru, flat as pancakes with neat slices in the sidewalls. A note was tucked under the wiper. Back off. I picked up the note, read it, and laughed. Actually laughed, standing there in my driveway with my ruined tires. Eddie, Rick said, you still there? Yeah, I'm here. I crumpled the note. They just made a big mistake. What are you going to do? Whatever I want. They're playing my game now. The street festival was Janice's idea. Every year, the city closed down Main Street for a weekend, filling it with food trucks, local bands, and about 10,000 people who all knew each other's business. It was the perfect stage. You're sure about this? Marty asked, helping me unload equipment from his truck. We'd rented it after my tire incident, completely sure. I checked my watch, 2 p.m. The festival was in full swing. The crowd thick and happy. Somewhere in that crowd were Vanessa and Cal, who according to Gab's intelligence were trying to do damage control, showing their faces, pretending everything was fine. Tommy had spread the word through his network. Eddie Harlan's wife and her boyfriend would be at the festival. People were watching. People were waiting. I'd called in a favor from an old friend, Melissa Park, a journalist for the local paper who'd been trying to break into bigger stories. I'd given her everything. The expense reports, the timeline of the affair, the details of the public humiliation at the promotion party. She was hungry for it. There, Janice said, pointing. Vanessa and Cal were walking through the crowd near the main stage, trying to look casual. Vanessa wore sunglasses despite the cloudy sky. Cal kept his head down. I pulled out my phone and texted Melissa. Northwest corner near the stage. 3 minutes later, I saw Melissa approaching them with her press badge visible and her phone recording. I couldn't hear the conversation from where I stood, but I could see Vanessa's body language shift from casual to defensive. Cal tried to walk away. Melissa followed. The crowd started noticing. Phones came out. People whispered. Social media was about to explode. Phase 2, I said to Marty. We'd arranged for a coincidental meeting. I walked through the crowd with Marty beside me, 6'4", a former linebacker, impossible to miss. We accidentally crossed paths with Vanessa and Cal right as Melissa was asking her pointed questions. Eddie? Vanessa hissed. What are you doing? Enjoying the festival? It's a free country? I smiled at Melissa. Hi, I'm Eddie Harland, Vanessa's husband. Well, soon-to-be ex-husband. Melissa's eyes lit up. Mr. Harlan, would you like to comment on the allegations of expense fraud and workplace misconduct? I think the documents speak for themselves. My wife and her friend made some interesting choices. I'm just glad the truth is coming out. You bastard, Cal said, stepping forward. You set this up. Did I? Or did you two set it up yourselves when you decided to steal from your company and humiliate me in public? I kept my voice calm, reasonable. Around us, the crowd was growing, phones recording everything. We should go, Vanessa said, grabbing Cal's arm. But Cal was done running, done being smart. You think you're so clever, he said, getting in my face. You think you've won, but you're just a washed-up contractor playing games you don't understand. Washed up. I smiled. I'm not the one suspended from work for fraud. He shoved me. Not hard, but enough. Marty stepped forward, and suddenly Cal had 250 lb of muscle in his personal space. Don't, Marty said quietly. Security was pushing through the crowd now. Festival staff trying to break up the confrontation. Perfect. This was exactly the kind of public scene that would dominate local social media for days. Melissa got it all on video. That night, the story broke online. Local executives suspended amid fraud investigation and affair allegations. The article was professional, well-sourced, and devastating. It included quotes from anonymous company sources, Rick's people, details about the expense reports, and a mention of the public confrontation at the festival. By morning, Vanessa's social media was flooded with comments. Her LinkedIn showed open to work. Cal's wife had filed for divorce. Janice had checked the court records. I was having coffee in my kitchen when someone started pounding on my door. I opened it to find Cal, looking like he hadn't slept in days. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. I know you're behind everything. The leaks, the journalist, all of it. Prove it, I will. And when I do, when you do what, Cal? You'll assault me again? Like at the parking garage? I pulled out my phone, showed him a screenshot of the security footage Rick had provided. I have the video. One call to the police and you're dealing with assault charges on top of everything else. His face went white. You're insane. No, I'm thorough. There's a difference. Now get off my property before I call the cops anyway. He left, but not before kicking over my mailbox. I watched him peel out in his damaged BMW. He still hadn't fixed the hood and smiled. Every action they took made things worse for them. Marty called an hour later. Eddie, you need to get to the bar now. I drove to the Rusty Nail to find a crowd outside and police cars in the parking lot. Inside, the place was trashed. Broken bottles, overturned tables, a chair through the front window. What happened? I asked Tommy, who was giving a statement to a police officer. Cal happened. Showed up with some friend of his. Started making threats, demanding to know what I'd been saying about him. I told him to leave. He didn't. Things got physical. Anyone hurt? Just Cal's friend. Marty was here. You know how that went. I found Marty in the back holding ice to his knuckles. They jumped me from behind, he explained. Cowards. But they got the worst of it. The police took statements from everyone. The security footage showed Cal and his friend entering aggressively, Tommy asking them to leave, them refusing, and the fight starting when Cal's friend grabbed Tommy. Self-defense clear as day. But the damage was done to the bar and to Cal's remaining credibility. The police report would become public record. Another nail in the coffin. That evening, I received a video file from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But something made me open it. It was Cal and Vanessa sitting in what looked like Cal's apartment, talking to someone off camera, planning, plotting, discussing how to frame me for workplace harassment, how to create false evidence, how to turn the narrative around. "We need to make him the villain," Vanessa was saying. "Make it look like he's been stalking me, harassing me at work. Jillian can help. She's got access to HR records." "What about the expense reports?" Cal asked. "We say he faked them, that he hacked the system. Gabe can back us up." The video was dated yesterday. Someone had recorded them and sent it to me. But who? My phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Mr. Heron. This is Marcy from Vanessa's office. I know who you are. I sent you that video. I recorded it at Cal's place yesterday. I was there when they were planning. I couldn't be part of it anymore." Why help me? Because Vanessa threw me under the bus to save herself. Told HR I knew about the affair and didn't report it. I'm being investigated too now. I'm done protecting her. What do you want? Nothing. Just make sure that video gets to the right people, please. She hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the video file. This was it, the final piece. Evidence of conspiracy, of attempted fraud, of malicious intent. This would end them. I forwarded the video to Rick, to Melissa, the journalist, and to my lawyer. Then I sent a text to Vanessa. Now we're in business. The company emergency meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. Rick had called it ostensibly to address recent events and restore confidence. Everyone would be there, executives, department heads, HR, legal. And according to the email that went out Friday afternoon, both Vanessa and Cal were required to attend. I wasn't invited, I wasn't supposed to be there. But Rick had given me a guest pass and directions to a conference room adjacent to the main hall where I could watch via closed circuit feed. "You've earned this," he'd said. "Watch them fall." Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. Not from anxiety or doubt, but from anticipation. Everything had led to this moment. Every move, every calculation, every piece of evidence carefully gathered and deployed. Janice called at midnight. "You sure about tomorrow?" "Completely. No regrets?" I thought about it. About 8 years of marriage, about the life I'd thought I was building, about the man I'd been before that promotion party. The only thing I regret is not seeing who she really was sooner. "You're different now," Janice said. "You know that, right?" "Yeah, I know. Good, different, or bad? Different, honest, different. I'm done being simple, done being." Monday morning arrived cold and gray, the kind of weather that matches the mood. I drove downtown, parked in a public garage, and walked into Vanessa's building wearing a visitor badge and a suit I'd bought specifically for this occasion. Dark blue, well-tailored. If I was going to watch my enemies burn, I was going to look good doing it. Rick met me outside the observation room. "They don't know you're here," he said. "Let's keep it that way until the right moment." "What's the plan?" "I'm going to give them a chance to come clean, to admit what they've done, and resign quietly. They won't take it. They'll try to blame you, try to spin the narrative. That's when we show the video. And then you get to watch them realize they've lost." The meeting started at 9:02. Through the monitor, I could see the conference room filling up. Vanessa sat near the front, her face carefully composed. Cal sat across from her, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Jillian from HR was there, looking nervous. Gabe from it sat in the back, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Rick stood at the head of the table. Thank you all for coming. We're here to address serious allegations regarding expense fraud, misuse of company resources, and conduct unbecoming of our corporate values. He laid it out methodically. The expense reports, the timeline of the affair, the public incidents, every fact documented, every claim supported by evidence. Vanessa stood up. This is a witch hunt. Eddie, my husband, has been harassing me, stalking me, spreading lies because I asked for a divorce. He's unstable, possibly dangerous. We should be talking about getting a restraining order, not investigating me. Several heads nodded. She was good. I had to give her that. Playing the victim, redirecting blame. Rick remained calm. Do you deny having a relationship with Calvin Brewer? My personal life is my business. Do you deny that Mr. Brewer submitted fraudulent expense reports for personal activities you participated in? I deny that I had any knowledge of how Cal managed his expenses. I see. Rick looked at his tablet. And do you deny conspiring to frame your husband for workplace harassment and falsifying evidence against him? The room went silent. Vanessa's face lost color. What? We have video evidence of you and Mr. Brewer planning exactly that. Discussing how to manipulate HR records, how to create false documentation, how to make Eddie Harlan appear to be the villain in this situation. That's impossible. Rick played the video on the large screen. Vanessa and Cal's voices filled the room, their words damning and clear. The plan to frame me, the conspiracy with Jillian, the intention to use Gabe to hack records. When it finished, the silence was absolute. You're fired, Rick said simply. Both of you effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Legal will be in touch regarding potential criminal charges for fraud and conspiracy. Vanessa found her voice. You can't do this. I'll sue. You'll do nothing, Rick interrupted. Because if you try, we'll prosecute. We have everything documented, every email, every expense report, every lie. Take the termination and leave quietly, or spend the next year in court and possibly jail. Cal stood up, his chair scraping loudly. This is Eddie's fault. He manipulated everything. He told the truth, Rick said. That's not manipulation. That's consequences. Security guards appeared at the door. The walk of shame was about to begin. That's when Rick looked directly at the camera I was watching through and nodded. I left the observation room and walked into the main conference room. Every head turned. Vanessa's face went from pale to ashen. Eddie, she whispered. Vanessa. I looked at Cal. Cal, what are you doing here? Cal demanded. Watching, I said simply. Watching you both finally face the consequences of your choices. You did this, Vanessa said, her voice breaking. You destroyed everything. No, you destroyed everything. I just made sure everyone knew about it. I looked around the room at all the faces watching us. You called me simple. You humiliated me in public. You lied to me for months, maybe years. You tried to frame me for crimes I didn't commit. And you thought you'd get away with it. Eddie, please save it. I'm done listening to your lies. I turned to Rick. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My pleasure. Though I have to admit, there's one more thing. Rick's expression shifted, became harder. Eddie, I need to talk to you privately now. Something in his tone set off alarm bells. I followed him to his office, leaving Vanessa and Cal to be escorted out by security. In his office, Rick closed the door and leaned against his desk. "You're smart, Eddie. Smarter than I gave you credit for. What's going on? I need you to take a fall, a small one. Some of the leaked corporate information, the expense reports, the internal emails, they came from secured systems. The board is asking questions about how that information got out. You gave me that information, I know, but I can't have that traced back to me. So, I need someone to blame. Someone external. Someone who had motive to hurt the company." I stared at him. "You're setting me up. Think of it as collateral damage. You'll be fine. No criminal charges, just a civil suit that will settle quietly. But I need to protect my position. After everything I did for you, you did it for yourself, Eddie. I just provided the tools." He smiled, and it was the smile of a man who'd never lost a game in his life. "Don't take it personally. It's just business." I nodded slowly. "Just business, right? I'm glad you understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly." I pulled out my phone. "I understand that you're a snake who can't help but bite, which is why I planned for this." "Planned for what?" "For you betraying me. For you trying to make me the scapegoat." I showed him my phone screen. "I've been recording every conversation we've had, every meeting, every exchange. All of it backed up to a secure cloud that automatically sends to multiple recipients if I don't check in every 24 hours. Rick's smile disappeared. "You're bluffing." "Am I want to test it?" "Because those recipients include journalists, lawyers, and the SEC. Your plan to use me to get rid of Vanessa. Your admission of providing me with confidential corporate information. Your attempt to frame me for your own actions. It's all documented. You son of a, I learned from the best." I interrupted. "You taught me that simple men are dangerous when pushed. Congratulations. You pushed." We stared at each other across his expensive desk. Finally, Rick laughed. A genuine laugh, not the calculated one he used in meetings. "You really are something, Eddie. I underestimated you. Everyone does. It's my secret weapon. So what now? You destroy me like you destroyed Vanessa?" "No. Now you leave me alone. You don't pursue any legal action against me. You don't try to pin anything on me. And in exchange, I keep our conversations private. We both walk away. And if I don't agree, then we both burn. But I've already lost everything that mattered to me. You, on the other hand, have a lot to lose. Your position, your reputation, your freedom. If the SEC finds out about some of your other creative accounting practices..." Rick studied me for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. "Deal. And Eddie, if you ever want a job in corporate strategy, call me. I'd rather eat glass, fair enough." I left his office and walked out of the building for the last time. Outside, I found Vanessa and Cal standing on the sidewalk, their personal belongings in boxes, looking lost and defeated. Vanessa saw me and started to say something, but I walked past her without a word. There was nothing left to say. Marty was waiting in his truck at the corner. I climbed in, and he pulled into traffic. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Better than expected." "They fired, humiliated, and probably facing legal charges." And Rick neutralized. Marty grinned. "So, it's over?" "Yeah, it's over." We drove to the Rusty Nail where Tommy, Janice, and a few other friends were waiting. Tommy had champagne chilling. The good stuff, not the cheap swill from Vanessa's promotion party. "To Eddie," Tommy said, raising his glass, "who proved that simple doesn't mean stupid." "To Eddie," the others echoed. I raised my own glass, looking at the faces of people who'd actually stood by me, who'd helped me when I needed it, who'd proven that loyalty meant something. To the love of my life. I said, echoing Vanessa's words from that night that started everything. And my number one supporter. I looked around the table at my real friends, my real family. You can stay, I said, and drank. 3 months later, I was sitting in my house now, after the divorce settlement, when I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from a recruiter for a tech company in Boston, asking if I'd be interested in a systems engineering position. The pay was nearly double what I'd been making. I accepted the interview. The divorce had been quick once Vanessa realized she had no leverage. She'd signed everything I wanted just to make it go away quietly. Cal's wife had taken him for everything in their divorce. Last I heard, he was working at a car dealership in Connecticut. Vanessa had moved back in with her parents. No job, no references. Her reputation in the city destroyed. She tried to reach out a few times, apologizing, begging for help, asking if we could talk. I'd blocked her number. Some people asked if I felt guilty, if I regretted going so far, destroying her so completely. The answer was simple. No. She'd made her choices. She'd humiliated me, lied to me, tried to destroy me. I just made sure the truth came out. Everything that happened to her was a consequence of her own actions. I wasn't the villain in this story. I was just the guy who refused to be a victim. The job interview went well. They offered me the position on the spot. I accepted, sold the house, and moved to Boston for a fresh start. On my last night in town, I went to the Rusty Nail one final time. Tommy poured me a whiskey. Neat. You did good, Eddie, he said. Held your ground, fought back one clean. Doesn't feel like winning, I admitted. Just feels like surviving. Sometimes that's the same thing. I drank the whiskey, left Tommy a generous tip, and walked out into the night. My car was packed, ready for the drive to Boston, and whatever came next. As I drove out of the city, I passed the building where Vanessa used to work. The lights were on in the top floor, Rick's office, probably scheming his next move. I didn't slow down. Some people spend their whole lives being who others expect them to be. Being simple, being supportive, being the reliable one who never complains, never fights back, never demands better. I'd been that person. I wasn't anymore. The city disappeared in my rearview mirror. Ahead, the highway stretched into darkness, lit by streetlights and possibility. I'd learned something important through all of this. The world doesn't reward niceness. It doesn't reward loyalty or patience or playing by the rules. It rewards the people who understand that sometimes, when someone breaks the glass, you don't clean it up. You make sure they feel every cut. Vanessa had raised her glass and shattered my world. I'd spent 3 months making sure she felt every single shard. And now I was done. The revenge was complete. The score was settled. The chapter was closed. I turned on the radio, rolled down the window, and let the cold night air rush in. Somewhere behind me, Vanessa was probably lying awake, wondering how it all went so wrong, wondering how the simple, supportive husband she'd underestimated had systematically dismantled her life. I hoped she never figured it out. I hoped she spent years trying to understand, analyzing every move, every decision, every moment where she could have chosen differently. But I wouldn't be there to see it. I was moving forward, leaving her and Cal and Rick and all of it behind. The Boston skyline appeared on the horizon, glittering with lights and promise. I smiled and pressed the accelerator. To the love of my life and my number one supporter, you can leave.